Right, there's this idea floating around that when we dress maturely, it's going to be boring, i.e. classic, or it needs to be glamorous and wafting, which ends up looking frumpy. But I'm here to tell you that there is a different way to do dressing maturely. And I'm not just talking to the over 60s here like myself. You could be 45 and still need to hear this, because believe me, I did at 45. Because once I hit my 40s, I thought I needed to dress in a waft of material or a sea of pattern. And I'm talking to you, shopping channels, you were the ones that led me down that road. And honestly, I looked matronly. So here's what actually works in my experience, and these aren't rules, so just take it or leave it. Let's look at bottom up, your shoes. But before we talk about even shoe styles, let's talk about maintenance. Because if your shoes are dirty or they're worn down, that's going to reflect upon what you're wearing. Because a beautiful, expensive shoe that hasn't been cleaned is going to look cheaper. On the other hand, a cheap shoe that is well maintained and polished, it's going to look more expensive than it actually is. But here is a key thing. We don't have to either be comfortable or uncomfortable and on trend. These days, the two combine. We can be out of fashion and very uncomfortable. No, that's a joke. No, we can be on trend and we can be comfortable. Because trainers and flat shoes, loafers, backless loafers, and the woven Mary Janes are on trend. And I've got to admit, I have just been converted to the woven Mary Janes. I actually got a pair in a subscription box and tried them and was surprised at how comfortable they are. They're comfortable for walking around, say, town, going to a restaurant, walking around in a restaurant. I wouldn't walk 5 miles in them. And when you're looking at trainers, the vintage trainers I am right here for, and I hope you are too. And if you're wearing a named trainer, not hyper expensive, we're not talking about designer here, we're talking about, say, a brand like Adidas, even an Adidas trainer, or Nike, or a New Balance, will elevate your outfit. They're intentional. It says, I'm in the world today. I know what's going on and I wear quality. And that's a message we're sending, isn't it? It's not about spending a fortune. We don't have to do that. It's just being a little bit more considered and a bit more aware. So your shoes can stop being an afterthought. They can actually be a key piece of your outfit. Now, somewhere along the way, there was the idea that in order to look polished, everything had to be neat and fitted, tailored within an inch of its life. And yes, a well-fitting blazer is a beautiful thing, but it's not the only route to looking put together. Not in 2026. And some, when they're dressing maturely, go completely the opposite. The thinking is, I've got a tummy, I don't like my arms, I don't like my rear, I don't like my thighs. And before you know it, you're walking around in a tent to cover everything up. But what's really happening is, in that case, you're disappearing into a sea of fabric. And it's not as glamorous as maybe the suppliers of those outfits that are wafts of material lead you to believe. It's not hiding anything, it's making you look bigger. So what we're actually looking for is the middle ground. You want a piece that skims and acknowledges you've got a figure and you've got a shape. And then we can play with mixing the shapes in an outfit. Maybe a relaxed blazer over a stovepipe jean. Or flip it, maybe a slinky midi skirt with a loose top. The mix of shapes is what creates an effortless, up-to-date 2026, I would say even classic look now. It stops it looking boring. And if you're thinking, but I don't know how, just try changing the shape of your jeans. Go for a wide leg instead of a skinny. Just give it a try and add a more fitted tee to it. By the way, a lot of you watch my videos and haven't actually pressed that subscribe button. Do you know it's actually free? Now, to those of you who have, a big, huge thank you. But those that haven't, what it means is it gives me a signal that, Anne-Marie, we're really enjoying your videos, we want you to carry on. It's a message to the brands as well that over 60, over 50, we are relevant, we are interested in fashion and style, and we don't want to dress boring. Let's do our bit for womankind. Share the video to others you think might be interested in it. Now, leaning into classics, but we can add our personality, because everyone says yes, buy classics. You can't go wrong with a classic, but in itself it sounds boring, and it can be boring. But there is a danger with classics, because did you know classics themselves have trends? So actually they are not the investment you might think they are. So do not spend a fortune on a classic piece. A Breton stripe, for instance, sounds, oh, that will last for years, absolutely classic. Yes, it will last for years. The material will last for years because you've got a good quality cotton Breton. The pattern and style may only last for 2 or 3 years because sleeve length, neckline, width of stripe, these things all change. The fit of it, the style of fit. These things get updated. Of course they do, because the brands want you to buy the newer version. A crisp white shirt, of course, is classic, but you had the fitted ones 10 years ago. Now we've got the relaxed fit. Collars change, cuffs change. A trench coat even, you've got lapel widths, you've got double breast, single breast, you've got length. At the moment, the cropped trench coat is the one to wear. So bear in mind when you buy a classic, it won't last 10 years. If you want to look current, it will last 4 or 5 years perhaps. So yes, use them to update your wardrobe. Maybe update one of your classics every year. And the way to wear classics that's not boring is to mix them with your more on-trend wardrobe. And that's where it gets fun and interesting. So a formula that I love would be, say, barrel leg jeans, because they're very much on trend. Pair that with that classic Breton. Add some loafers because they're classic. And perhaps a cropped jacket because that's on trend. And this year, big beads. Beads around the neck, not dangling beads. Beads just at the collar, a bit sort of where my scarf is now. Very much on trend. Add beads over the top of the Breton, that would be fun. Add a scarf as I'm wearing here, because these also are very much on trend. And this is a formula that might make you feel more comfortable in applying trends to classics and that mixing, because you're still anchoring yourself in something you're familiar with, that classic, and you're dabbling in a trend. You're still looking like you, but the outfit's not boring. And as far as accessories are concerned, the beads and the scarves, this is where personality lives, and it's so refreshing to see at the moment that scarves and beads are on trend, so we can play with the colour and we can play with how we're doing our scarves up, and we can add interest to our outfit that way. Pairing your beads and your scarves suddenly turns that classic piece to something that's more on trend. Less boring. Now, don't be afraid of colour. Of course, there's that feeling or that thought, we're told, to mature our style, we need to be wearing the beiges and the blacks and the navies and the creams, the ivories and camel. Yeah. You get to an age where that just doesn't work. You need to have a new neutral palette. Because your grey hairs already reduce the contrast. When I had brown hair, I had high contrast. That was contrast against my face. Now I'm lighter contrast. So I need something else to anchor my look, my facial look. Lipstick works, sunglasses work, a hat works, something contrasting, but we're talking about colour here. I don't want a neutral beige next to my neutral face and my neutral hair. That's very bland. So the colours that I'm looking for now are the purples and the pinks, fuchsia, blues, and luckily for us, one of the trending colours of 2026. I've been saying cool blue for a while now. It's got a name. It is called Dutch Canal. Pantone have actually named it now, Dutch Canal. This is following that trend, these softer, cooler blues. This is Marks & Spencer's, so it's not expensive. I will list it if it's still available for lots of countries, because quite a lot of you have already bought it. The scarf was available only in the UK. If it is still, I will list it for you, but it does make quite a good contrast against it. That's what I mean, you see, it's adding the contrast. If I was wearing just this and this is quite light, my face is light, my hair is light, and so on. The scarf's adding contrast. So in summary there, the old rules of the beiges and the camels and ivories and creams, when we get to a certain age and get to a certain colouring, no longer work for us. And a light blue might be your new neutral. And materials, instead of the polyesters, look at the cottons. They're not expensive. Do not think you've got to spend a lot of money for a cotton t-shirt or a cotton shirt. You have not. There's plenty in Marks & Spencer's. in the States, Uniqlo of course, and well, I'll find some and list them for you. Quince is not hugely expensive. There's linen of course as well, and I know linen creases, that's part of its charm. I heard one of you quote from your own mother that if linen doesn't crease, then it's not real. I think that's lovely. Mixing materials as well, mixing natural materials, so mixing denim with cotton or with linen, with wool, with merino wool, with alpaca. That mix of textures, even if you're wearing one colour, that adds interest to your outfit, so as maturing your outfit is not boring. Avoid that heavy American jersey. Now in the UK, jersey's more of a soft, light, somewhere between cotton and wool really material. I can't describe it. In the States, a jersey is a very heavy, clingy, elasticated material that you get on the shopping channels here, and it just drags. If you had a neckline on a dress, it came to here, you wore it and it was in a jersey, it would come down, it would be down here. It would just drag, the weight of the material just drags it down. So if you understand that material I'm talking about, avoid it please. If this video has resonated with you, I'm sure you would want to hear more, and I've got a video for you here. I'll see you right over there.